welcome to this week's Movie Math, where unfortunately everybody had a little indigestion. But at least Sony Animation was able to claim the #1 spot, once more proving that animation has become the most dependable genre in the biz. Just look at everyone who's getting in on the game, as evidenced by the plethora of trailers that have been paired with Meatballs 2. Not only is there Disney's Frozen and Warner Bros. The Lego Movie, but Freebirds and The Nutjob from smaller distributors Relativity Media and Open Road. However, as the genre gets diluted in terms of quantity, the jury is still out on quality. Animated movies aren't quite the slam dunk they used to be. Meatballs 2 opened with $35 million, a great debut for 2009 when the first movie opened, but it's still way behind Hotel Transylvania's $42 million debut last year at the same time, as well as this year's Despicable Me 2, Monsters University, and even The Croods from The Big Guns. Basically, at this point, an animated movie should open north of 40, preferably around 60, and ideally in the 80s. It'll be interesting to see where Frozen lands. Both Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph opened to just under 50. Then the darker, more brooding Prisoners slingshotted past Rush a la Niki Lauda passing James Hunt, and that's with an almost 50% drop for Prisoners in its second weekend. This is actually the second weekend for Rush 2, as it opened in 5 theaters last weekend. In the flick, James Hunt's car would typically burst into flames, and it seems this movie has done just that for Chris Hemsworth. A $10 million-ish debut for Rush certainly doesn't seem very godlike, and hints that maybe he wasn't the draw for Snow White and the Huntsman, which opened with almost $60 million last year. And of course, Olivia Wilde can add yet another clunker to her resume. Universal's decision to make Hemsworth and Wilde the focus of their ad campaign for the flick has proven to be as stupid an idea as it initially seemed, and I personally find it frustrating that Daniel Bruhl's impressive stateside debut is being unnecessarily sidelined because of that decision. Plus, as anyone who's seen the film can tell you, it's the Niki Lauda storyline and Bruhl's performance that are the most compelling. Advertising sinks yet another movie, as the chasm between Hollywood and its audience gets bigger and deeper. As for Paula Patton and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the two other new kids on the block this weekend, well, they both had to go home alone as their pickup lines fell flat with audiences. Yes, both these traditional and non-traditional rom-coms were DOA, opening with around $9 million apiece. Thankfully, both were pretty cheap to make, yet are further proof that neither Patton nor Gordon-Levitt can open a movie. This should give Legendary pause, considering the rumor that they're in talks with Patton for their World of Warcraft movie, and also burst Gordon-Levitt's leading man dreams. Premium Rush and 50/50 opened on par, and while critics loved Don John, audiences gave it a C+ via CinemaScore. I told you, JGL, too much actual porn for the mainstream. Industry insiders are also questioning JGL's insistence that Relativity open the movie wide as opposed to in just a handful of theaters. The latter allows for potential headlines touting an impressive per-theater average, which translates into buzz. But the only question left now is whether or not Don John can become a cult hit. As for the rest of the box office, while Insidious Chapter 2 now looks unlikely to match The Conjuring's impressive haul, it still already surpassed Insidious Chapter 1. And Eugenio Derbez got himself another great headline as Lionsgate was able to announce that Instructions Not Included has become the highest-grossing Spanish-language film in the U.S. ever. And it's the 4th highest-grossing foreign-language film of all time, behind Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Life is Beautiful, and Hero. Muy bueno! I was going to say congratulations in Spanish, but I couldn't pronounce it. As for this coming weekend, Sandra Bullock is expected to float to the top of the box office, while Ben Affleck is set to gather more evidence that he should only act when he's also directing. And that's the weekend box office. I'm Grace Randolph, and we just did some movie math. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope we'll go beyond the trailer for these other top movies.